All right, so we all knew this day was going to come. We all knew we had the faith, we had kind of the conviction that it's going to take to really move this next level of the market. Something special happened today in the Ripple case. We're going to dive in deep. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. We'll get right to the news here. Watcher Guru, of course, broke this. U.S. judge rules Ripple XRP is not a security. Everybody in the market right now is absolutely going to the drawing board and regrafting their entire roadmap. And when I say everybody in the market, I'm talking about projects, VCs, investment houses, institutional capital, you name it. If anybody's been kicking the tires on crypto for the last 2 to 3 years, today is the day they signed the contract to buy it. So it's going to be a big thing. I think this is one of those things, and we'll get into some strategies of how to play this, because you can get a little bit overexcited here and you can make some mistakes. So stick around for that. We'll talk about that. We'll look at some of the charts today, maybe even look at some sentiment as well. Brad Garlinghouse comes in with his tweet and said, we said in December that we were going to be on the right side of the law, and we will be on the right side of history. Thankful for everyone who helped to get us to today's decision, one that for all of crypto innovation in the US, and there's much more to come. Now, this has so many effects on the entire markets that I've got some slides I'll show you guys here in a minute. There's going to be some short-term effects, some midterm effects, and what I think are going to be long-term effects. And I'll break those down. I want to get into some other tweets here. John Deaton, of course, right here, talking to Charlie Gasparino. Probably a side bet here going, but bring the platinum card, because it's going to be a big complete win for the XRP and Ripple in this case. Now, the news is pretty straightforward. Let me go to the block story, just kind of break this down. Blockworks, actually, to break this down for you guys. A couple of things happened here. Obviously, everybody knows that the case has been around these programmatic sales, represented less than 1% of the global trading volume. Vast majority of individuals who purchase XRP from digital asset exchanges did not invest their money in Ripple. They invested in a token. So this has been the argument from day one, and it is a good argument. Therefore, having considered the economic reality and totality of circumstances, the court concludes that Ripple's programmatic sales of XRP did not constitute the offer and sale of an investment contract. Summary judgment comes after a 3-year-long battle, hundreds of millions of dollars being spent, and probably hundreds of millions of investors' monies being lost by just the recklessness of the federal government and the SEC. That's the good news, I guess. The bad news for the SEC is this is going to start, I think, a domino effect on a variety of things. Institutional sales are a little bit different. They talked about reasonable investors in the position of institutional buyers, yes, would have purchased XRP with the expectation that they would derive profits from their efforts. XRP is a digital token and not in itself a contract, transaction, or scheme. And then it goes into, rather, the court examines the totality of circumstances, lining this up. The court ruled against Ripple's essential ingredient defense, which Ripple argues that physical contract must exist as an investment contract. That's actually an important statement, because this will be something that could play out in a lot of other token cases that may start to come to fruition here as well. In assisting institutional sales, the court evaluated the three-pronged Howey test in its ruling as follows. And it goes into each one of the prongs of the Howey test. If you guys have not, I won't go through all that today. If you've not heard of the Howey test, it's basically the model that has been around since the 1930s that establishes something as a security. And it pretty much broke the Howey test. This is a big deal, because at the end of the day, it boils down to Ripple was right, and most of the tokens and projects now that have been kind of marked as security are highly in question now, with the opportunity, I think, of a lot of these companies being able to stand on now a potential case. Remember, this is now going to go to court, but the judge has pretty much said this thing is pretty much locked and loaded, and it would be difficult to find a jury that would look at this in a proactive way to give the SEC even a fighting chance. So it just would not be a fair case. One other thing is that the SEC need not to demonstrate that Ripple co-founder Chris Larsen and Garlinghouse were aware that Ripple's transactions schemes were illegal. So basically, this is a scenario where both Garlinghouse and Larsen have also been looked at as innocent. So pretty huge impact there's going to be a lot of other things that will be impacted other than the Ripple price, other than CBDCs, which now Ripple will play a big role in that. I'll show that here on some of the charts. This came in from Meta Lawman, and we're actually going to have James on later today on our 3 o'clock live. So stick around for that one. Make sure and smash the like button right now and hit that little bell because you get notified when we get that live up. But we're going to break down a lot of things of the impact of how Coinbase is going to be impacted on this, how other projects that are related to crypto are getting impacted, and then also what does this mean for a lot of projects that have been kind of on the bubble. This is going to get into a lot of things. His statement, huge win for Larsen and Garlinghouse XRP, while the court rules that some of Ripple's institutional sales, back to the point I explained there earlier, were investment contracts and thus the sale of unregistered securities. Ripple's sales of XRP to Programmatic were not. Ripple's other distribution and XRP employees and compensation, all that, ledgers, etc., are not investment contracts. And then Larsen and Garlinghouse are good to go. The other thing he hit on right here was this. It's not itself an investment contract, is a significant blow to the SEC against Coinbase and other crypto exchanges. This is probably one of the bigger side impacts that I think a lot of people haven't completely digested yet, because there's a lot of attorneys now that are scrambling, trying to figure out how to play this case against Coinbase now, and or does the Coinbase case get dropped and possibly settled on maybe a fine for, the aspect of things like staking. All of this is happening right now. And as I said earlier, many of these companies are going to be really struggling to try to figure out how do they re-enter the United States because of what is about to happen in the U.S. markets. Eleanor Tarrant, of course, also broke this. Entry 874, this kind of just reinstitutes that this was definitely a real deal, not a drill. This is something that has happened. How this plays out in a real court case and a full-on scenario is going to be questioned. We'll see. Adam Cochran came in. Ripple case, here's the good and the bad. Good for all. Surprisingly big win for XRP. First judge did decide institutional sales and fundraising was securities, so there's going to be some things there. Other thing here is Coinbase, of course. Remember, Kathy Wood sold her Coinbase earlier in the week, and Coinbase right now, if you go over to the chart, let me just pull up Coinbase real quick, and yeah, we're on tech stocks. Let's go to Coinbase. And right there, of course, Coinbase getting ready to most likely break $100. If you've been following our channel, you probably have noticed we've been talking about Coinbase, and I tweet about it a lot because we've invested in it, and it's one that we see a huge opportunity despite what's happening here overall. Let's see, what else do we have? Elio comes in, says, hey, ETH 100% in the clear, for sure. Altcoins also follow best principles. We'll have a major leg to stand on thanks to this case law. This will set some existing case law out there, I think, that will really start to play into this. XRP, of course, we're following their Twitter account, but you can kind of see it right there, alert. Punch like a retweet, and a good deal here with what they're doing it right now. And how many of you are owning XRP? I'd love to know. Now, the impact on this, and what does it do for the markets? What does it do for the United States? What does it do for crypto in general? I'm going to go over to some slides here. Let me jump over to those real quick. And I'm going to go to this Ripple impact right here on the immediate aspect of it. So relisting of XRP most likely will happen most likely. I feel like this is going to go pretty quickly. Coinbase effect is going to be big because this will start to set precedents. This may change the entire strategy of how Coinbase goes up against the SEC. Alts could be even in a scenario of relisted of the ones that are standing or believe that they have a position to go with this case law. Could mean Solana, Matic, ADA will fall back into good graces. Now, I don't think that the SEC is going to go down here without a fight. Don't even put that in your mind. That's going to still be a scenario. In fact, they're probably going to fight harder. Matic 2.0 is my question. Will this get scrapped? Will they go back to the drawing board because of this precedence that's now being set around securities law? And then remember, Flow, NBA Top Shots, Dapper Labs, is that case dead? All of this is going to be affected in the immediate action right here. If you go into the midterm, July 18th, coming up here in a few weeks or a few days, the hearing against the SEC, we're going to be broadcasting that one. That's going to be a big one because this will fuel a lot of those lawmakers and policymakers. July 19th, the crypto bill impact, that's coming in from the House. We have already put a lot of coverage on that. If you want to learn more about that, check out those videos. We have a whole playlist on those. Also, the effect on the Bitcoin ETF. What does this do now? Because Larry Fink is looking at this and just licking their chops on the institutional side, saying the United States is now open for business. And the banker's token is XRP. It is the one that everybody has talked about as being maybe the alternative to a CBDC. So could this change the full strategy around CBDCs in the future? Do you see the ripple effect, no pun intended, of how this starts to hit on so many markers within the industry? My last slide here is the, let's go back here, midterm, long-term effect. Global effect on markets, I think, are going to be huge. This will affect both what's happening in the EU, also what's happening in Asia. U.S. now back in control of blockchain. Maybe this starts the ball rolling in the right direction. I think it gives a lot of fuel for fire here on both policymakers and strategists around how they're building out their businesses, including VCs reinvesting back into this space. Because I think a lot of people were kind of backing away, trying to figure out how this was going to play out. This is a pretty landmark case that is going to change, I think, the future of all this. Gaming to explode in U.S. development. Again, this will get back into the scenario of NFTs, how they play into the market. Web3 to unleash brands and maybe token strategies now, because this is another scenario where so many brands have been looking at this space. And, I've talked to so many of them, major Fortune 500 brands that are always considering, and they always bring up the Ripple case. They always bring it up. And now this starts to show maybe a new strategy for a lot of Web3. And I talk about this a lot of where it's going. I'm going to play a clip for you guys also. Just here recently, this was on the Microsoft Activision, and this is what I think's coming for Mr. Gensler. Listen into this clip real quick.
My problem here today is that you're a bully. You have $500 million to spend. You then took on Microsoft. That merger that you lost the other day is one in which a protected market that Sony enjoys in Japan, a company that is already larger, needs competition. When you blamed your staff and said staff decisions, shame on you. The fact is, you run this organization and its left turn came when you took over. You're failing in that, you're going to fail. My problem here today.
Boom. So I think that clip right there, just insert Gensler, and you've cost American investors maybe billions, in the essence of growth. You've cost American productivity maybe close to trillions over the next decade. That's the kind of impact that this case could have on the rest of the entire market. It is going to be a really big day. What I would say is this. When you guys are looking at, not investment advice, but when you're looking at the current scenario of looking at projects that you are going into, what I would say is do what I do. And this is always just go with your conviction. Stay with what you guys are doing, that you've been doing for maybe the last, let me kind of open some charts here, maybe the last 3 or 4 months, because you've probably been looking at Bitcoin even all the way back to early January when it was around the 16.5 mark. Just stay with what you're convicted in. Ride this out. If you like Solana, great. Then that's a great one. That's one of our top picks. If you like Avalanche, a big top pick. If you like what's happening in the Web3 space, there's quite a few tokens that are in our CPI, our Crypto Power Index, that we like as well. When you're looking at all of those, with ETH right now showing the most gain and the most pump, looks like it's getting ready to crack over 2K. Also, when you look at some of the moves that we've got going on, let me jump over to the CPI. I'll try to get into those real quick and show you guys where and what is up with sentiment real quick. Sorry about that. Wanted to be on there a little faster. All right, so, and of course, this is a daily. Bitcoin and Ethereum both have obviously seen a pretty significant pump here on move. The big scenario that's playing into Bitcoin right now is where amplification, and you guys hear me say that a lot, is where amplification gets into a scenario where it overpumps. And this on the overall market, again, also showing big shift here on almost every sector. Overall market is now starting to track with Bitcoin and ETH. That is good for altcoins, and it is good for, I think, obviously we'll see that with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Let me go over here to Ethereum real quick, and we'll show that. We're going to take a few questions and get into those as well. Do we have the vMix ready to go? All right, cool. All right, I'll view the queue. All right, excellent. So right there with Ethereum also starting to spike, and it looks like amplification has now overtaken top line sentiment. So this right here is in line with what's going on right now with Ethereum. So sentiment is strong. Likelihood is we're going to see Bitcoin and Ethereum lead the way on this. But remember, look at Cardano here, up double digits just in a few hours, 10% right there. Solana up 15%, again hitting 25. We've been investing, as you guys know, in Solana over the past several months. Avalanche is another one that we've been investing in. And what I would say is just, if you're convicted in these, stay with them. Because if this is the beginning of the bull market, you were here when it started. And even if it is not, and we do get a market correction, are you comfortable with these tokens? Are you comfortable with these kinds of projects that you want to invest in the future of blockchain? If you are, you've already made your decision. You've already got the conviction you need to be in this space. And now you just got a big win with this Ripple case. So a lot going on for sure. Let's go over, do we have a poll today, or is it just going to questions? All right, let's go over to the poll real quick. What do we got? Bull run officially begins, 79% saying yes. I'm gonna try to temper that just slightly. You guys know me, I'm a little bit more conservative. But I will be honest, this is one of the first green days that I've been buying on. Typically I buy on red days. This is a green day because I believe, it's accrediting what's happening in the space. But understand this. This could be a short-term pump. We could still see market impact issues push this back down. I'm feeling much more bullish now that this could be the beginning of the bull run. And when I say a bull run, sometimes these are 8 to 12 months. So what we're looking at, remember, April next year, the halving, an election year, we are going to see some pretty amazing fireworks. If you have not been in crypto before, and this is the first time you've joined our channel, you might be in for one of the most exciting rides of your life. So we'll get into a few questions right here. Who will relist XRP first, coming from Jen? I think Coinbase may be one of the ones that just would do it out of spite. That would just be such a dig to the SEC, and they've already kind of got it in here. With good news comes bad. Let's hope no bad news. I mean, we had so much news today. Thanks for the super chats there. Tell me I will be thanking you and believing in me in the XRP move. Yes, XRP. And you guys know we've been covering XRP for a long time. We're big believers in it. Charles is Charles is going to eat his word. Kathy Wood, very smart, but a terrible trader. I don't know. Sometimes these things catch everyone by surprise, but I don't think it caught anybody by surprise of the impact it would have on the markets. And even though right now we're only seeing maybe a 5 to 10% move, those are amazing moves. Don't say that they're not big moves. Don't expect massive moves on this. But the key here is, what does this do over the next 90 days? Remember, we still have an FOMC meeting coming. Likelihood is that could have some effect on it. It's a big one right here. Larry Fink made Gensler an offer he couldn't refuse. I think that's a possibility. You know that Fink is all over this because they are losing hundreds of millions and billions of dollars right now, not having an ETF on the market. We just got an ETF in Europe. So much happening right now in the space. Ripple IPO could be definitely a face melter. And that may happen. I mean, this is one that Garlinghouse has referred to in the past, of doing an IPO post a settlement and or a decision. And if they already kind of know the bag's in, it's going to be interesting. The SEC, will the SEC lose against ETH? I think the SEC is going to lose against crypto in general. I think there's still a lot of projects out there, guys, that are securities. So be aware that this is not just open game now on all crypto. It is not. Do not get reckless. You still got to do your due diligence. You do your research. You still look at fundamentals. Whether you like tokenomics or not, most people don't, because it's an investment in the way of playing the fundamentals game. All of those are still working in the same way that they always have been. So it's not changed a bit. Will Gary keep rejecting it? I don't think he has face to save. I think right now he's going to be doing anything he can to save his career, because this guy, I think, has now put a scarlet letter on himself and is pretty much been set up for an exodus out of there. And I think, like I said, 18th, we're going to see the SEC. We'll cover that hearing. That's going to be another validation from the lawmakers that are going to be coming. We'll actually be up in D.C. covering some stuff this fall that I think is also going to start to line up what's going to happen throughout the election year, which I think is really the bigger play. Right now, these are small potatoes, people. Small potatoes for what's getting ready to happen. Make sure and tune in for our 3 o'clock with James Murphy, Meta Lawman. If you guys are not part of our Diamond Circle, this is the day that you should be, because this is where you're going to start your process of learning more and more about what's happening in the crypto space, Web3 space, and really diving into some of the best minds in the industry. We get all of that over on the Diamond Circle, and it's also a great place where we put additional content. If you're not following me on Twitter, make sure and do so. It's just out there at Paul Barron. We'll catch you here in a few bits, right here on TechPath.